back to my channel. My name is Bayan and it's Vlogmas. Today's the first day of Vlogmas and I thought maybe I should actually do a get to know me video because I've never done them before, and I thought it might be good to just start there this month, you know, since I'm going to be vlogging. For those who don't know, Vlogmas is vlogging every day for the month of August, and today I thought I should just share my life story so you guys get to know me. So let's begin. Well, let's start. I was born in 1989, the 80s, so I'm an 80s baby. I sometimes wish I was a 90s baby because I don't know, the 90s are so romanticized and stuff. Anyway, I'm an 80s baby and I was born in a city in the Eastern Cape of South Africa called Port Elizabeth, also known as Nelson Mandela Bay, aka Babeja. I have two older siblings, two older sisters, Belinda and Bahia, and they are actually a year apart, and I am the last born, so I'm like 8 and 9 years apart from my older sisters. So they kind of grew up kind of like twins, and I grew up kind of like almost like an only child, but not really. I'm not weird, don't worry. And I grew up there. I grew up in Port Elizabeth, did my schooling years there and my university and everything until I left the city and the country when I was 21 years old. So let's talk a little bit about my childhood. I had a very lovely childhood, actually. I grew up in a lovely home and my parents treated me like gold. My mom actually struggled to have children, and so she had several miscarriages. And so when she finally had kids, she just really nurtured us and protected us and made us feel like we were very special. So yeah, I had a very nice upbringing. Although I was always a shy kid, I feel like I still am very introverted and like kind of shy, but as an adult now, I feel like I can kind of overcome that when I need to, you know. I also grew up with a strange name. Like, my name is Bayan. It's not Xhosa, which I am. I'm 100% Xhosa. It's not Xhosa, it's not English, it's not Afrikaans or Sotho or Tswana or any other language. And South Africans usually get very confused when I tell them my name and they have to like pronounce it or remember it, which I don't understand. To me, it's like so easy. Anyway, I have a Persian Arabic name and it means utterance. I am a Baha'i, and that is why I was also named Bayan, because the name is very significant in the Baha'i faith. Yeah. So I grew up kind of because of my identity, because I have a very strong Baha'i identity, I'd like to believe. I often felt kind of like a weirdo in every situation that I was in. And that was kind of hard growing up that way because I never really felt like I fit in anywhere because I was so exposed to like many different cultures and religions and so on. But I've come to know now as an adult that that is actually one of my strengths, and that's why I'm able to connect with many people from different backgrounds and to actually help people feel welcome and loved, because I feel like I also really needed that when I was, you know, navigating life as a child. So, what's next? Yeah. So, at the age of 21, December of 2011, after university, I left the country for the first time ever. Well, it wasn't I had gone overseas or like visited other countries, but never for a long time, like never to live in. So for the first time, I left South Africa to live in Israel. Now you might be like, random, why Israel? Okay, so the administrative body of the Baha'i faith is situated in Israel. And so Baha'is all over the world, whenever they have an opportunity in their lives to offer full-time service, they will go to Israel, and the place is called the Baha'i World Center, and they'll offer an amount of time to help or serve there. So I went and served there for 2.5 years, serving as an executive assistant in the office of the International Teaching Center. And so after 2.5 years of being there, I met my now husband, Ray. So we met there, and we were asked to perform a musical piece at an event. And so we got to know each other in that way, and the rest is history. I don't know, I can't talk about this without smiling. Anyway, so so we got married in Israel. Our families were there. Well, my parents were there and his parents were there. And after about 4.5 years of being there myself, so we got married, and then I stayed another year there, 1.5 years, I think. And we moved from Israel to Zambia. We lived in Zambia for about 2.5 years. He was a teacher there, and I was the head of the character development department at a school called Banani. And that is when I had my first child, actually was in Zambia. So our firstborn, her name is Tahireh, and it's an Arabic name. It means purity. So she was born in Zambia. And then from there, we moved from Zambia to South Africa. We lived in Mahikeng for a couple of years, and there my son George was born. I'm skipping through a lot of details because I don't want this to bore you guys, but I will go into a little bit about mental health in this little bit with like having kids, because that was like a very important part of my life and my story, I feel like. So this is going to go into some sensitive issues. So if you are triggered by mental health and those kinds of things, please skip ahead, or you can end here and I'll see you in the next video. Anyway, so when I had my first child, Tahireh, my mom, I had her in a obviously different country in Zambia, and my mom wasn't able to come because she actually had been suffering from kidney disease, and it was just like, it would have been really complicated for her to be in Zambia because she needed to have access to a hospital 3 times a week for her dialysis, and we lived about 2 hours away from the hospital, and we didn't have a car or anything, so it would have been just completely challenging for her. So my mother-in-law came for that birth to support us, and I think that when I had my first child, I had postpartum depression, but I actually hid that from my husband and my mother-in-law because oh my god, am I gonna cry? No, don't cry. No. So when my mother-in-law came, and so I hid the fact that I was really struggling mentally and was feeling depressed, I honestly, I just hid it because firstly, I felt like I was judged for not having a vaginal birth or like a natural birth with my first child. I had a C-section. And so I didn't want to like appear as weak or like, because okay, so I'm often like this person who feels like I need to be strong and I need to show my strength to other people, especially when I feel like other people around me need me to be strong. So when I became a first-time mother, I felt like I didn't quite receive the support that I needed to receive, or like the people around me needed me to be strong for them. You know what I mean? And at that time, I didn't quite understand what being strong meant, you know? And now I understand like being vulnerable and like actually opening up and saying, hey, I'm struggling is actually a strength. So I felt at that time that I would just seem weak, or I would seem like I don't know what I'm doing and all of this. So I tried to kind of hide it from the world. And also as someone who like believes in God, I felt like I had to like just pray and meditate and that will like give me strength and I'll be fine. And I did those things and they did give me strength, but I still wasn't fine. For those who don't know, like postpartum depression or any kind of depression isn't something that you choose. It's something that's triggered by many varieties, by many things. In my case, I think my hormones were just all over the place because I had just given birth. I was also without my own mother, who I felt would have, you know, given me the support and the strength that I needed at the time without judgment or anything. And then also I feel like the lack of support around me contributed to just like me feeling depressed and alone in like being a mother. Not to mention we're living in a completely different country with like no friends, no family, and anyway. So I feel like that was the first time when my mental health was like, whoa girl, you need help, but I didn't listen. And then when we had our second child, George, in Mahikeng, my husband and I were just like struggling to adjust to like have from one to having two children. And it was like so hard. Again, we didn't really have the support we needed. My mother-in-law came for the birth, but then it was like the same kind of thing. Like I don't really know her. And she doesn't really know me, and she has her ways of doing things and I have my ways of doing things. Culturally, we're very different and all of this. And so, again, it was really hard for me to like open up. So when George was like, how old is he? I think it was like 2 or 3 months, we visited my parents-in-law in England, and gosh, things got really, really hard there. So again, I found myself feeling extremely lonely because I was in a foreign country with a family that I barely knew and with 2 children and not much support. In fact, a lot of hostility. And this is like very, very, very sad because I completely felt unwelcome in the country and in my husband's home. And that just made me spiral. And there's like so much more details to that, but again, I don't want to like go into too much detail. Anyway, so when we left England, and England is cold and gray, and it's just not the best place to go to. Yeah, so when we got back, we got back and my husband was so busy with work, and I had been a stay-at-home mom since the birth of our first child. And I just kind of felt like I had lost my identity. Like I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know what I liked and disliked. I was just like consumed by this new role that I had. And I was just like constantly giving myself to just this new role of being a mother of like 2 children. And it was hard. And I felt like I was going deeper and deeper into this hole or well. And I felt like I couldn't get myself out of it. And it was just like really hard. And that's when I knew that I needed to open up and share with someone that I am actually going through a hard time and I need help. So I opened up to my husband and we got help. I started seeing a psychologist, and then I was like, you know what? I need to go home. I need to be with my family. So I went home to PE, Port Elizabeth, and my family was just like, what is going on? Like, what do you mean you have suffering from postpartum depression? What is that? And it was just like such a hard time because I had experienced racism, sexism, and all sorts of things with my husband's family when we were in England, and we came back to South Africa, to our own home, and I was like still not doing well. And so I was like, I need to go home to like relearn who I am and kind of understand what's going on with me and just kind of receive the support that I need. And my family was just like, we don't understand what you're going through. Like, you need to start from scratch and like explain to it and like help us understand and help you. And at that stage, I just felt like I had no one. I just felt like so alone and so depressed. And I felt like I was failing at everything. I was failing at being like the partner that my husband needs me to be. I was failing at being a mother. And I just felt like I was failing at everything. And there was no way of like getting out of that state. And so in that mindset, I tried to unalive myself, which was such a hard time in my life because now that I'm like that, this was like 2019. 2019 was like the hardest year of my life. And I just like looking back now, I'm like, who was that person? Like, gosh, to feel like you have no one ever, and to feel like the only way you can only escape is to just like go to the next world and be with your maker is like such a low place to be. And like, I don't know how I got there, but now I feel like maybe I went through that so that I can help others just to feel that they're not alone, you know? Just to feel like, just to know that they're not alone. And like, I feel like every human being's craving is to feel like they are part of something. And so I feel like now it's like I'm an advocate for like mental health and just talking to people, asking about how they're doing and like really meaning it and listening to them, really listening. And just if and just offering a hug, like that's like the least you can do. But especially with new mothers who don't really have like the support that they need, I feel like it's so helpful to just have them understand that they are seen, that someone actually cares for them and sees them and understands what they're going through, and that they don't need to educate or explain anything to anyone, that they are just seen. Whew, that was hard to talk about. Anyway, so we went through that and we conquered and came out the other end. A friend of mine actually shared with me this fact that flamingos, when they have children, I don't know if flamingo children are called children. I don't know. Anyway, when they have a young one, they lose their pink, and then it comes back later on. And honestly, I feel like I lost my pink for a long time. And I feel like doing things like starting a YouTube channel and like starting a social media account where I'm like trying to find my style again, and like it's like these little, or like just sharing, like getting a house and decorating it, are just like little steps that I'm taking towards getting to know myself more, and just like sharing who I am, and like doing things that I love and things that fulfill me. Because for so long, I've just been so focused on this role of motherhood, which honestly, no one can prepare you for. It's just, I mean, other people have children and they just are the happiest of, I don't know. I mean, I am also very happy to be a mother. Don't get me wrong. I'm so happy and I love my kids. But it's just that entering that journey can be really confusing and really hard. And so young mothers just like really need the support and community, basically. Anyway, so where was I? 2019. So yeah, that was the hardest year of my life. And then in 2020, so my husband had to leave his job, basically. And he took off, he left his job, and we were like homeless, without a job, or, without any income for a few months. And we lived with my parents in Port Elizabeth. And that that journey helped me to start my healing process. We had no responsibilities. It was us and our kids, and we were by the ocean, which is my favorite place in the entire world to be. And we would go to the beach every day and go to the gym every day and just try to eat healthy and it was kind of like a reset for a few months, to just really focus on our marriage and supporting each other. And that was so good for us. And then in 2020, he got a job in Joburg. So we moved to Joburg. And that was all new again, with our two little kids. We moved to Joburg in January, and then in March, there was the lockdown, the pandemic hit, and things just got hard again. But our communication was better. We had learned how to support each other for those few months when we were resetting. And so he was working from home, and that time really also strengthened our marriage and our bond together. And we spent a lot of time with family, and it was just so nice. And then in July, my mom passed away. Yeah, she caught COVID, and My mom wasn't well to begin with. She had an underlying condition. As I mentioned earlier, she had kidney failure. And so once she caught COVID, she was in hospital for 3 days and she passed on. I don't know where I got the maturity or the strength to basically like free her. You know, I had been talking to my mom every single day since I left the country in like 2011, and it was now 2020, and I just felt when she was in hospital on the second day, I felt like she needed a break. She needed to go. And in a way, in our conversation, it felt like she was asking for permission, like, and I just reassured her that I am okay. You know, I have this wonderful family that I've created for myself. I have this amazing husband who is so supportive, and I will be okay if she moves on to the next world. And the next day she had passed on, and I always thought if my mother were to pass on, I just couldn't live. It would be like not breathing anymore. Like I couldn't survive that. But I actually did. I survived it, and at the end of that year, we bought our first home in Midrand, and we were so blessed to have a tiny little cottage-like home that had a little garden. And you know, it was the end of 2020 and we weren't allowed to go outside or anything, so we were so happy to have our own place with our own little garden. And we lived there for about 3 years, and then we moved into this house about a year ago now, which I can't believe it. Yeah. Oh wait, I forgot our third child. I think I got pregnant with our third child while we were living in Midrand. So she was born in 2021, 2022, she was born in 2022, and she is now 2 years old. Her name is Anati, and she is just like the best. We feel like our family is now complete with 3 children, and even though it's been a hard journey of, you know, relearning who we are and like connecting on a deeper level and just understanding things about each other on a deeper level, me and my husband, I mean. Yeah, it's been a journey, and having children is not a piece of cake. It's probably the hardest thing you will ever do in your life, but it is also the most rewarding and just most beautiful experience, because I don't know, if it feels like it connects you to everyone else in the whole world in a way. I don't know how, but it just feels like it does. And yeah, so that's part of that's my life story, I guess. My husband and I will be celebrating 10 years. Can you believe that? Like, we've been married for a whole decade. 2014 was 10 years ago. So we will be celebrating our 10th year anniversary in December, and really excited about that. So thank you guys so much for coming along and like listening to me and understanding my life story. I hope you've enjoyed this. I have enjoyed just sitting down and chatting with you guys, And tomorrow is day 2 of Vlogust. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.